We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Ms. Groom, will you please call roll?
Mr. Davis?
Here.
Ms. Stone?
Here.
Dino M. Kasparlakis?
Here.
Mr. Mayara?
Here.
Ms. Ramsey? Here. Ms. Register?
Here.
Dino P. Kasparlakis? Mr. Phillips? Chairman Lee?
Here. All right, thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from May 14th, 2014 meeting?
Motion to approve.
All right. There's a motion on the table to approve the minutes from May 14th, 2014. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor of approving the minutes from May 14th, 2014, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please respond by saying nay. All right, the minutes are adopted. All right, on to agenda item number 4, BOA 2014-012, reestablishment of nonconforming use for 710 East International Speedway Boulevard. Reed, do we have anyone here to speak on behalf of it?
We do. If I could, I'd like to introduce this particular item
Sure.
for you, and then ask the applicant to come up.
Please.
Okay. This is one of those situations where we have a commercial building that's been sitting vacant for a little while up on ISP, and as you know, it's driving us crazy when we see these buildings just sitting there. You know, one of the reasons that some of these buildings sit there, and I think one of our board members, Mr. Mayara, knows full well, because we made a change in the RDB 5 zoning district, which is the Atlantic Avenue retail, to change some of the requirements for parking. In other words, provide some time for people to occupy some of the spaces along there and not have the parking requirements along A1A. So we made a text change that this board recommended for seems like several years ago, but it was a while back. And what that did was essentially allow us the opportunity to start maybe occupying some of this space, some of the buildings, without imposing parking when these buildings never had parking. They depended on people to be on the beach, to come from the beach, and to be pedestrians, and not have to find a parking lot somewhere to come to necessarily that establishment. So we have a different situation here where we have T4 zoning, different zoning district, doesn't have that opportunity. And so when some of these buildings, and if you've looked at the pictures, the aerial, we have tightly packed buildings on that first block between Atlantic Avenue and Grandview on ISB. And those, because of the configuration of the lots, just the history there, and in this particular case, a building that is basically landlocked. It has no parking whatsoever there. But they have, in the past, had this I'm going to call it a lease, but it's an agreement to have parking on an adjacent lot, but it's not their property. What's happened here is because of the 3-month abandonment issue where somebody's out of there, now you basically have to start over and meet all of our requirements, including parking, setback, et cetera, and you can't do it. The building, the layout, and everything else, the way it exists, it's just not going to work. So there's all these what they call nonconformities, and we need to go through a process, or the applicant does, to go to the Board of Adjustments and get that all approved. And what we have done as a courtesy and a tradition is where there were redevelopment projects and projects of interest with staff, we have brought those to this board so that they could make a recommendation to the Board of Adjustments. And it would also gave us an opportunity if there were redevelopment design issues, the facade, other things that were of concern to staff that we could raise that, because if you're going to reestablish a non-conforming use, that's the time to start asking, well, what kind of facade improvements, what kind of design can be established as a part of this process. At least it's going to be a requirement when you come to get a building permit. So it's very important to have that out in front of you, so that the applicant and staff, as we go forward here, and hopefully they succeed, because staff believes that the right thing to do is to support the reuse of the building, and not do what would be the other option, is leave it vacant. For how long, we don't know, and because who else is going to come forward, and they probably have to go through the same process if they want to occupy it, or it's just got to simply sit there until it falls down. Because we don't know when development is going to actually occur, when we can assemble property. It's a very expensive, and we're doing it right down the road, and it takes a long time. So with that, there are a list of hardships. I've put them in the report. That's what the Board of Adjustment looks for. We're not here to decide whether or not the hardship case is necessarily valid, but you certainly can comment on all of those comments that are in here. But it's just to send a message to the Board of Adjustments that's got to make this decision, whether or not you concur with the applicant, support the applicant's position, what they're trying to do, and number two is that you're also giving any comments that you believe would be helpful in terms of direction to the Board of Adjustment and to staff as to what the appearance of the building should be. Okay? So with that, I'm going to, if it's okay.
Please.
How you doing? I'm Eddie Cohen. This is my mother, Patty. I'm not sure if you...
Please just state your name and address, please.
Our address is currently 34 Marion Road in West Park, Florida. And this is our first time doing anything like this, so we're not sure where to go or what kind of questions we're going to be asked or what to say. So it looks like the main issues in the report, I just saw the report for the first time a few minutes ago, but it looks like the main issues are with the pole sign and the front canopy. Mm-hmm. And we're certainly willing to make any changes necessary to get to the front of the building.
So you don't have objections to removing the pole sign located above the front porch?
I mean, as long as we can come up with some other way of putting signage on the building, I'm assuming you guys allow something rather than the pole sign. So sure, as long as we can have some signage. We prefer it if it were lit up like the current one. I think the pole sign now is something that can be seen at night.
Right. Okay.
But we also like to say we hate the way the place looks from the front too. So we definitely want to make a lot of improvements in the facade.
And I was looking to see, I guess I don't have my copy of it, with the front facade design.
Yeah, unfortunately our artist
there we go.
leaves a bit to be desired there, but
It was a plan that we asked to do it because
it looked better on the original, I think, than the copy. It was a bit more form to it. But it's essentially, because of the blue and white canopy that's already in existence, we were looking at designs that we could use those same colors in, blue and white. And one of the design styles that I like is Greek island style, Mykonos, Santorini style, stuff like that. So we thought that might be a good fit, being that it's near the beach.
And what about your plan to lease parking spaces?
That I'm still a little confused on. We still we haven't purchased the place yet, so we're still in the process. But it seemed what we understood was that it was deeded parking next door. which
Three spaces,
was,
wasn't it?
was, from what I understood, it would be hard for someone to revoke that from us once it's been deeded via the city.
Okay.
But that was we thought that would cover any issues because we saw that there were a requirement of 3.5 spaces per 1,000 feet, I think it is, in the guidelines. And it looks like we have about 5 spaces on the west side of the lot that we have deeded access to. So.
Okay. All right. Does anyone else have questions for the applicant?
I have questions.
Go ahead.
Then is it your intent for you, in your new design of the front, are you going to utilize and use this existing blue canopy with the pole hole in it?
Well, initially we were thinking of using the blue and white canopy until, as part of the design that we had there, we were hoping to maybe grow bougainvillea up over the top of it,
On the side and up on top.
up over the side, up over the top to take the place of the blue canopy.
Cover some other side that looks, ugly.
Is that what's being illustrated in this picture that I
Right,
see?
the
Flowers
Yes, those are actually supposed to be bougainvilleas going up over the canopy to take the place of the blue and the white.
going up over that
Yeah,
canopy
Yeah.
that's going to have a hole in the middle of it where you take the pole out? Right.
No, actually, the canopy would be removed. The blue and white canopy would eventually be removed, and it would just be covered with green. And
But in the meantime, it would be left there with a hole in the middle where the pole's coming out. I'm just trying to be really clear on
We
this.
definitely have to patch that. Where the
You're
right now
gonna-
where the sign is coming up through.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we definitely have to patch that. I think there's also another little small hole at the top of it that we'd also have to get patched.
So you're going to patch it.
Initially, yes.
Uh-huh. Let me ask you something. This little building that's sitting next to your building, is that part of your building, or is that part of the building
That is part of
on the
building
east side?
next door.
That's on the east, that little section of building, okay. All right. So yours is just the building that has the canopy across the
Just
top?
the one that has that cross-hatch white stuff that's horrible out there on the front of it behind the poles.
Okay, okay.
The entire building is encompassed by that crosshatch area.
Okay.
And he wants to cover the crosshatch.
The crosshatch coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we've
Yeah.
taken the crosshatch
That
out.
looks bad.
Yeah.
And then the poles that stand up, you would cover those with a decorative pole from the inside to make them look pretty.
Right, right. Is it your intent to leave this chain link fence all along the, is that what that
It's
is?
a wooden fence with
Trellis?
crosshatch trellis.
So it's a wood trellis?
Yeah, that would be the first thing we'd take down.
And is that a wood trellis on the side there too?
Yes, it actually, they were looking for cover, it looks like, from the driveway that runs up, because the driveway that runs up below the right side of the building goes into the apartments into the back of the building.
Okay.
Which we have no access to park there or use the driveway. We just have, it looks like we have a deeded easement to get to the back of the building up that driveway, but that's it.
Okay. Now, this proposed design style that I'm looking at here, which I love, it looks like a little Greek villa. How much of this are you going to be using on the new design of the front of your building? I know this is conceptual, but
One of the main things that we really hate about the existing design is how it looks like the side of a barn out front. I mean, it's got a bunch of I'm looking for the picture. I think it's on the second page here or something. Yeah. It's got a bunch of like boards that come down at weird angles. It looks kind of like a barn work on the left side of the building.
I
The
see
left side
that.
of the
I see
front
that.
facade.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that was it. There's a small door almost in the center of the building that leads into what is basically the kitchen. It's a little 10 by 10 room back there. So there's really not much we can do it. And then the addition behind that drops down 3 feet, and there's no access from the front. It's only accessible from inside the building down a stairway in the middle. So the Greek island style was one of the main reasons was to get rid of that barn side look that's there now, and put something in there that makes it look like it's actually in use.
Okay.
A little rounded door, a little window, or something like that.
Okay.
But right now it leads into a little windowless 10 by 10 room with the weird sloping roof that was used as a kitchen.
Yeah, those crossbars, those vertical crossbars you're talking about, I actually thought that looked like maybe it was a canvas side with boards.
It's actually wood that they've placed out there to kind of give it a barn look, I guess, was the only thing I could come up with.
And is it a wood wall painted white panels behind it?
Actually, I think it's an old brick wall behind the wood.
brick wall.
And they just put wood up, and to give it a barn side look, I guess, was their,
Or a bar. Or
to try and cover it up.
Okay. And your intent is to put a jewelry store, retail jewelry store in the space?
Costume,
Yes.
Vintage costume
vintage, as in pre-owned?
Yes.
All pre-owned.
Um,
And I've had about 35 years' experience in the costume jewelry business.
But it won't be new jewelry, it will be pre-owned jewelry.
Will definitely be pre-owned.
Pre-owned, it's estate jewelry.
Estate jewelry, okay, all right. I have comments, certainly on this, but that comes at another time, right? This is just questions, right?
Correct.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Right. We'll start with Dino. You have any questions or comments?
Yep.
Or questions? Teresa, questions?
I wasn't quite certain I followed the parking, because I thought the workup said that you were going to lease a parking.
Yeah, we saw that in that was to our understanding, we have a deeded lease next door to the parking
Okay.
area. We've seen that, and it looked
Okay.
like it was very old.
I'm not sure I'm following a deeded lease. I mean, and I'm not a lawyer.
Maybe
so
I'm
I
using
don't know,
wrong
maybe-
terminology.
But-
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Greg Antonich, 153 Dawn Drive, Ormond Beach, Florida. The application was made not to include an actual lease off-site. The property adjacent to the east, they have a deeded easement access for parking in the rear of that property. So what happened historically, when the bar restaurant was there, they used the back parking area of that for, I guess, employees and such. So it's actually a bona fide recorded easement for parking spaces behind that. And when we spoke with staff and met with Reed and Mrs. Askew, we were clear that the application was not including an additional or separate leased space for parking, which was not available in the area.
Okay, so to the east, is that the smoke shop? Is that the business you're talking, where you have the easement?
Yes.
Pumpernickel Pops, I think it is.
Right. Teresa, they have a driveway that goes down to the back on the east side of the building to the
Okay.
east, and a
Okay.
big, flat backyard, back area.
Is there
You can
any,
actually see it a little bit on the area.
That's-
and is there any parallel parking in front of the store?
There's a couple of them, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's two in front of the store, and I think there's probably 3 or 4 across the street from the store. The proposed stores.
Teresa.
I'm done.
Oh, you're done? Carrie, do you have questions?
No, I'm good.
Jobert?
Yes. Well, I'm very familiar with this property.
Oh, you are?
Oh, yeah. I'm very, very familiar. I was supposed to buy it many, many years ago.
Oh.
This blue awning and this thing here came in about 10, 12 years ago.
It's a very well-built awning, I must
Yeah.
say.
And
It's
the
all
poles-
aluminum and very strong.
And if you look, the sidewalk is very narrow in front of it.
Mhm.
Okay? So there's a certain part of the sidewalk that city owns. Okay, I'm not sure, but I know this property very well. Now, the easement that you guys are talking about is the easement to the east. It's to the next business. To the other side is Salty Dog.
Right.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with
The
this.
easement I was referencing was the one that goes up the driveway,
Yeah.
on the right.
It's not so much, I think it's 3.5 feet. It's
tiny.
very narrow,
Just
so I don't
enough to
even know
walk
if it's
back
an
around
easement.
to get to the back of
Okay.
the building, it looks like.
Now, if I understand, you're going to remove, let me tell you what, I was supposed to purchase this property, and I made a thing with the city to make it look half decent, is to remove all that frontage. All this has to go. The signs, you can have other exposure beside the pole, right in the middle, in front of the building. I can tell you're going to have an issue with parking. Because the 3 spots that you're talking about in the front, by 8:05, they're already taken by the employees. But there's motorcycles in the front
Employees from,
the other businesses.
oh,
And you can see that the motorcycles don't park on the sidewalk.
yeah, we noticed they parked up right in front of the building.
Usually they're parked right in front of there to block that whole thing. Okay, now, when you're talking about across the street, the parking across the street, talking about the corner,
No, I'm talking about there, it looked to me like there was the same.
There's a
we
vacant
had-
store.
Yeah, the same as we have two spots right in front of us there. Directly across the street, there's some.
Oh, on the
parallel
city,
parking
on the
spots.
city.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Parallel parking.
Oh, got you. Curbside, okay.
yeah, it's 2 hour parking, I think.
Yeah, I know, yeah. If, my only issue is the frontage. We're working very hard to make the entrance of town, of the beach side, and believe me, Mr. Berger said, I opened the door to the parking, and it costed me a lot of money to deal with the city about it, so I know what it is to deal with the parking. But we're trying very, very hard, not only me, but a lot of business people on beachside, to make the entrance to the beachside look good. If you are planning to do something like this, and you stick to it, and you're in front of us saying that that's what you're going to do, you got a good chance. If you don't, and you leave it as is, personally, I'm telling you right now, I'm not okay with it.
How about I wouldn't be okay with it?
I'm just telling you because
Yeah.
I know this property, I know what I went through, I know what I'm trying to make. I don't want to call it my beachside, it's everybody beachside, and we're working hard. And I got vacant land, I got vacant stores, and believe me, I get calls from people that want to do businesses that we don't want them on beachside. Trust me, we don't want them, and I'd rather leave it vacant than have people to make, when the entrance to town is the most important.
Right.
You know, it's like the old saying, tell me who your friends are, I'll tell you who you are. The entrance to town is the most important, and ISB, it is the most important. It doesn't matter what anybody says, ISB is the most important to us, the people that come in here. So if you're planning to do something like this, you better have a nice design, and I don't think you're gonna get any objection from anybody. Because you would be the pillar of making it ISB look good. But if you're planning to leave this, or if you look back at the wood and all this fencing and all that, I'm not going to tell you what to do. My suggestion is better off to have more footage in front. And I think you have, if I'm not mistaken, it's 2.5 feet of sidewalk. It's supposed to be 3 and some to the city. If you look at the picture, Reed, there's a very small portion of sidewalk. And I remember when the city was doing the pavers and all that, we gave up a lot of our property, everybody, to make it look good. And here is very, very narrow. So my suggestion to you, my friend, if you can make you have a better frontage by taking all this off and making it open than leaving all these, this pole sign and all these white poles. As far-
Removing the pole signs, you're saying, and the awning?
He's talking about the awning, the poles that go out in front of the awning.
The pole sign is more a liability than
Basically knock it
anything
back to
else.
the white awning.
You know, the pole sign is more liability than anything else. I hope that one day we're going to have that major walking traffic on ISB. That becomes
We'd like that too.
that becomes a liability. So, you know, I would agree to certain things, but I definitely this needs to go, because if you're going to be on ISB, there's certain things that not only this board, not only the people here in town, but every person that has any interest in the business in Beachside would like to make, this would reflect on my businesses. See what I'm saying? I have business all along A1A. This would reflect, and I would definitely don't want this to reflect. Nothing personal, but if you can do something with the frontage, and you're planning to do like this, like you said, a Greek courtyard, very, very nice.
Well,
But-
I'm glad to hear that, because we
Yeah.
were worried that you guys would not be at all amenable to.
Yeah, but I
the
think, Reed, we need to find out about the short distance of sidewalk. There's a very, very, you see what I'm saying?
Right,
I
there's,
just looked it up on the Google Maps, and
Yes.
the forward north leg of this sign right here isn't any further out than the front of that.
Yeah, the surf shop next to us, I know, comes out pretty close to where
Yes,
we are.
the salty dog, because they added that
Yeah, that's the
little,
kind of thing out
yeah,
front.
they added that, I know that, they added to put their surfboards, that I know that, but, you know, that's what I can tell you, because I know this area very well. We're all trying to make ISB the entrance, and I'm sure everybody here, we all like to make our houses beautiful, you know, so when guests come in, they like to see, you know.
Absolutely, we're in total agreement. I mean, the majority of anything we're going to do initially is going to be to get the front of that building to look as good as possible, because we realize that's what's going to keep people from, that's what's going to make women feel comfortable about coming in
Yeah.
to even purchase jewelry. So,
I can tell you it's a start, because all around you, Salty Dog is a decent building, All the rest, they all need a little bit of, not a problem, but we got to start somewhere. And if you're going to be the one that's going to start, we want to make sure that, personally, I will speak for myself, I want to make sure that is, the first step is done the right way. So no other people can come in and say, well, why'd you do it for him? Why won't you do it for us? Why won't you do it? So.
Absolutely. Well, we're in total agreement with that. I mean,
Anything else?
No, sir.
Tim? All right.
I have a question of Reed.
Please.
What are their sign options? Do you know that? If they remove this pole sign?
Sure.
When they remove this pole sign? Just to make sure you know.
Right. There are options for awning signs to be placed out there, so you can actually have it on the where it drops down along the valance. You can have the name of the business there. You can also use another type of sign is like a projecting sign or a blade sign on the side, and you can use a wall sign. And there's a lot of ways to do a wall sign, and if the space presents itself, you can also do a monument sign, or if you do one of these walls around the front area, porch area, in the future that looks like a Greek villa, then certainly you could integrate something into that that would work as well.
The other option is the awning, yes.
Yeah, I'm hearing that the awning might be an issue, and I'm
Not just the awning.
well, the awning, the lattice. I'm hearing that the applicant's going to be taking down the lattice in front.
absolutely.
The issue is also what I'm hearing is that that first section of canopy that is located there, that has the lattice work around it, and the narrow poles, that would be best coming down and redoing that facade in some way so it's more open.
Well, we definitely noticed that it seems like there's two canopies already there.
There.
There's the blue one, and then there's a white one. That was the original one behind that. So
Right.
perhaps it would be enough to take the first down. The blue.
Go ahead.
You said you had a comment? I do.
Yeah, you said you had another comment?
Yeah. As far as the parking goes, I think it's totally unreasonable on our part to expect you to have any parking because you're in a situation where physically it's not possible. So I think that I'm with Reed. The parking thing you just excuse and don't expect you to do any parking. And I think there's a lot of spaces like this, residentially and commercial, in this area, in the CRA area, that that's just a practical, reasonable thing that we should accept on our part. I have no issues with the parking at all. And what I do have an issue with is the entire appearance of the front of this. It looks like a vendor's place at the flea market. And I know it's very hard, I think, when you see old, not very good-looking structures to the east and west of you and all around you in this area, which we are because we are a slowly changing, evolving, hopefully improving area. And so it's very difficult, I think, for us to ask you to have some, I think it was Mr. Cook that used to say, we don't want to keep repeating the same thing. Because I used to ask him, like, well, other people have it, why can't these people have it? And I think he's right about that. I think I was wrong my first year on the board when I used to ask that question. So I ask you to kind of bear with us in that and maybe understand why we're asking more of you than what you see in all of the CRA area right now. But we are going forward. So here's how I feel about this. I love the concept of the Greek villa. Even if you wanted to have the little courtyard half wall out there, painted white stucco type of thing, where you would be eating up part of the walkway. If it were I, and I owned the business, I would want all of that walkway open, and I wouldn't want anything out there because I would want people coming and looking in my windows. But maybe your courtyard would do the same thing. Maybe you would draw them into the courtyard. So I don't, again, along with the parking, I don't really care about the space on the sidewalk, but I think maybe some other people in the future would care about that. But Here's what I think. To accept any part of this existing blue awning, or the wall, or the poles, or any part of it, don't know about the white canopy because I can't see it. So don't know what condition or what appearance it has. But I think, in fairness to us, to ask us to recommend something, I think that you should come back, and you should come back with a conceptual rendering drawing that has some dimensions on it, not a lot of dimensions, but just, approximate dimensions on depth and width and height. And I think that it can be an artist sketch or rendering with some colors like the white and blue type of thing. And whatever windows or fenestration openings you're going to put in the front of the building for your displayed windows or whatever, I think that needs to all be shown to us. I don't think it's fair for us to accept and approve something that you're saying, oh yeah, well, we're going to take that down, and maybe we'll take this down, and it's not fair as representatives that we are of the appearance of the city to approve such a vague presentation. So that's what I suggest, and then that would be fair to everybody and would be fair to you because you would know what we were really approving.
So, Mr. Chair, if I can, I just want us to frame this in terms of where we are procedurally under the Land Development Code.
Please.
The applicants are applying for a variance. The variance requests go to the Board of Adjustment. This is an informal hearing, which isn't required by the code, and the applicants would have the right to go to the Board of Adjustment without your recommendation to get your recommendation. Not the risk of being overly mechanical. I suppose that if I were sitting as the attorney for the Board of Adjustment and the Board of Adjustment had received a recommendation from this board and they were asking what do we do with it, I would tell the board that what we're really talking about here in terms of what your purview is to weigh in on item F in the staff report, which is whether it's in harmony with the general intent and purpose of the LDC, which among other things includes redeveloping certain areas in accordance with a certain design. I'm saying this as much for the applicant's benefit as for the board members. You're not obligated to recommend that a variance be granted if you're not comfortable that it meets the redevelopment and design requirements in the code. So it's perfectly acceptable for you to say we're not going to make a recommendation unless you want to give us an elevation, and if you do, we'll decide whether we're going to give you a recommendation. If you decide that, the applicant still has the right to go. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to add, in this process, normally when we see it, will be an administrative review. It'll be by staff. And it'll be, it's like if you're putting a porch on a building, unless it trips.
You're saying the site plan review process.
Right. The whole. So every day, not every day, but on a regular basis, we get somebody that's changing a facade, a porch. We're doing grants. You never see any of those, but we're required to go back and look at these projects and make sure that they meet the intent of the redevelopment design standards that we have in place now. So there is, when these facades are changing, it's not a site plan. It's not something that has to come back to you. We're making decisions on color, what you're going to paint your building. That all happens administratively. What I would suggest, and sometimes when we've had this discussion, is that we work with our design professional. We've done this in the past. Is our design professional from the board, and we entrust that it's just entrusting that individual working with staff to simply look at the plan when it does get put together and it's going through the permitting process. Will help. Provide the comments and with what we're hearing tonight, assuming this would all go forward, and we'll get down to those details. Talk about the canopy, because there's interpretation here when you're looking at the design standards and what you practically can and cannot do. And I think what I've heard is if removing the canopy is something that the board wants, as staff, we would be recommending that that's part of the appearance standard that we would want to see addressed before that building permit would be approved, okay, under the Land Development Code. So So what I'm saying is that when we talk about process, and this comes out of the Board of Adjustments, if it does get support by the Board of Adjustments, it'll come back through the process for that building permit, and that's the time that we can go back and provide it. But I wouldn't suggest coming back to this board again with a concept plan and adding another layer that isn't there. Okay? That's all.
Okay.
Well, where does the final improvement come from on the design of the front of this building?
It comes from the plans that are presented to the building department. Permits and licensing will receive the plans, and they'll approve those plans. If it's in redevelopment, they have to send them upstairs to our office, and we review them. Just like the sign, awnings, porches, a lot of things that happen in redevelopment. We see that, and we may say, look, there's things you need to change. They're oftentimes not a big deal, but there's some things that just our architects, building officials don't see that. That's not part of their function. That's why they send it to us, so that we can make sure it meets those standards.
Right.
I just want you to be clear. They're applying for a variance from a non-conforming use provision under the Land Development Code. They're not applying for a variance to do any adjustments to the building. It's a non-conforming use, quote unquote, because the property doesn't comply with parking requirements. You would think that.
So we're just asking to recommend the variance.
No.
So what I'm saying
Support
is, if this
Board of Adjustments.
request never went to the board, and they got their variance, they would not, as a result of the variance, or by application of our Land Development Code, be required to make any facade or other changes to the building, because the Land Development Code says non-conforming buildings, to the extent that the building is non-conforming, can remain. Okay? They're asking for a variance from a use that's been discontinued because it's been abandoned. I think procedurally the reason why staff has brought this to you is because one of the factors that the Board of Adjustment is going to look at for any variance is whether the proposed variance would be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of the LDC. So presumably, this board would weigh in on whether recommencement of the use would be consistent with the redevelopment guidelines and facade guidelines.
But that's what we're answering.
That's true.
That's what we're
That-
doing.
that's
We're
right.
saying,
That's
as
right.
it is, no, it wouldn't be, but if you would make these changes, we would recommend it.
And I think this board can decline to make a recommendation in favor unless there is an elevation given and you pass on that.
That's
And in
what I
response-
think.
And in response, the applicant can continue on to the Board of Adjustment without your recommendation.
Right.
And the Board of Adjustment could grant the variance, with the result being that there wouldn't necessarily be any required changes at all. So just to be clear on where we are.
But I'm not comfortable saying, no, I'm not going to recommend on this, because I think it's a great idea, and I think if it ends up with a nice frontage design, it would be a welcome business. So I'd rather say, hey, I'm for it if you're going to do the front correctly, and then I'm happy to recommend it. I think that's what you were saying, isn't it, Gilbert?
Yeah, but I understand what Mr. Cross is saying now, that they still can continue their process with or without a recommendation.
It might be very important
Yeah.
for the applicant
Right.
to get your recommendation,
Exactly.
and my understanding
That's
is...
exactly what I did. I just
And-
gave
yeah,
the opinion.
sure.
Okay, that's what I want to understand, because, thank you very much, because what we did is not, listen, because a lot of us know this property, we're giving you our opinion. You understand?
That's right.
That means you have a lot better chances going through the process if certain things are done. But like Mr. Cross says, a recommendation, with a recommendation, they still can go through the process.
Right, and my understanding, for what it's worth, is that one of the reasons, there's nothing in the Land Development Code currently that says variances have to go to redevelopment area boards for a recommendation before the Board of Adjustment. And I don't typically sit as the attorney for the Board of Adjustment, but I've been in a few meetings where, based on my attendance there, it seems they typically like to get the recommendations of the redevelopment area board. It's still up to the applicant whether they feel like they need your recommendation or not, but it could be important, and it's ultimately the applicant's decision if you're not going to give a recommendation as to whether...
Thank you, Mr. Cross, you clarified it very, very much. Thank you.
Tim had a comment?
Yeah, so just to recap here, so we're not approving anything. We're just looking to give recommendation to the Board of Adjustments.
Correct.
The staff's recommendation is that we do support the applicant's request based on them removing the pole sign, updating the front facade, based on the current redevelopment design standards that are already in place. We have no input on that. And then the third thing is they were going to lease parking to the east. I have no problem with the parking at all whatsoever. I don't know that the landowner to the east will lease to them or not. I don't think the easement is going to be enough parking in the back. That apartment building, the 708 property, they have their own issues. They need to park there. So I'm willing to make a motion right now to support as staff recommends with the exclusion of number 3, just with 1 and 2. If they'll remove the sign, upgrade the front facade to the current design standards, and they can park curbside, for all I'm concerned. I'm not asking them to enter into any kind of lease agreement with the tenant or the property owner to the east at 714 and 716 East ISB. That's that's the motion I'm making to approve.
So you are making a motion?
I'm making a motion.
So the motion on the table is to, where are my notes? Is to recommend to the Board of Adjustments approval of BOA 2014-012, reestablishment of non-conforming use at 710 East International Speedway Boulevard, as long as the pole sign located above the front porch structure be removed to comply with the redevelopment standards, and the front facade be improved as proposed by the applicant and in accordance with the redevelopment design standards.
Yes.
Motion? I'll second it under, just add one more thing. Is it to the...
So wait, one second.
A second is
So
just
we
a
have a
second.
motion.
It's not second.
And we have a
I
second.
just want-
Now it's time for discussion.
Okay, not a problem, sorry. Not a problem. I just want to make sure. My main concern is that blue awning. Is staff okay with upgrading the awning, the blue awning, or removing it? That's what I'm trying to understand.
This is because they're asking for the Board of Adjustments and that decision now. That their options and the different ways that they might want to design this, I think, comes afterwards, and what they come up with. I think we're all getting direction and ideas from the board here, and that was the whole point of having that discussion, as well as what Mr. Gross has just explained on the one item on the variance. That helps the Board of Adjustment. But this design issue is important for us as staff to have your input and work with the applicant and know, hey, we're gonna try to do this, and I'm not hearing any objection yet from the applicant that we can work this out in terms of a design that we'll all look at and say this is a great improvement to ISB and what they're trying to do, including occupying a building that's been vacant. And
what I heard from you earlier, Reed, was
Yeah.
that the city staff has no problem running all that by Suzanne, our design professional on the board,
which we
as
we
part
do.
of the process.
We do that from time to time, especially when it comes up.
Mm-hmm.
So, Suzanne, you're ready to work with me on this. We'll if this all goes through, we'll work on.
My pleasure. Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? All right, so the motion on the table is to recommend approval to the Board of Adjustments of BOA 2014-012, reestablishment of nonconforming use at 710 East ISB, as long as the pole sign located above the front porch structure is removed to comply with redevelopment standards, and the front facade is improved as proposed by the applicant and in accordance with redevelopment design standards. So, all in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please respond by saying nay. All right, motion carries.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So
I hope you close and buy it.
So the next item on the agenda is,
Exactly.
We're done.
yep, you're done. Thank you. Good luck at the
Good
Board
luck
of
to you.
Adjustments.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is the redevelopment project update. Reed?
All right. Just very quickly, the hotels, feel like this is maybe a bit of a broken record, but we are definitely still very positive. We're having continued discussions a demolition of the one building that's sort of gotten some airplay with Proto Group and getting that one building knocked down that's next to the plaza. That is in the works, and I would expect within the next month we'll see it actually done. The demolition permit's been paid for. They're in the middle of asbestos removal. There's a lot of environmental issues that have held this up. It's not anybody dragging their feet. It's simply going through all the processes to get this done, because you're on the beach side. It's not easy. But they have been making every effort to move forward in making that happen, and we're just dealing with issues of security and making sure that people are not in harm's way. So that's working well now. The Hard Rock is moving forward with their project. We've had some good meetings with building permits, and those will be coming up in the future here in terms of issuance later in the summer, early fall. We'll just keep that kind of vague, but that's all moving forward with really both projects. So I would hope to see by the end of this calendar year the two projects that have some of the permits that they need to move forward with work on the seawall, site work, and some of the building plans in their final stage in terms of what we need to review and move the project forward on the schedule that gets us to 2016, 2017 for opening these projects. So that's all good news. The other interesting, did I talk about Streamline a couple months ago? Because I know we skipped a month here.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, so they've actually had that on the, and it's going to be on the Travel Channel at some point, because they did one of those reality shows. And
Possible.
yeah, so they've been in there filming, and we'll see that at some point in the future. There's not much they can tell us right now, but they're going to be working on the historic preservation part of this. That they're going to bring this back the way it was. We met with them today, in fact, on the grants, the historic preservation grant, and it's going to be really awesome. I'm looking at Suzanne because she's worked in the South Beach and knows these Art Deco buildings, and this is going to bring that back to a boutique hotel. We'll be proud. Yeah, yeah. Well, so there, you'll see some activity out there this summer. And the East ISB redevelopment side, just letting you know, we're knocking down some more buildings that we had acquired, and so that'll open up a little bit more. And I'm hoping that now we can get this back out on the market, which is starting to heat up, and see if we've got some commercial interest for that site down by the bridge. Last thing is that we have had a great success down at the band shell and on the boardwalk and the fireworks, and we've tried Main Street to have us there. And Teresa, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to how the Main Street Summer Nights is going. Not to put you on the spot.
We came into the program a little late this summer. We didn't have much lead time on it, so we've been a little slow. And of course, with the afternoon, evening rains, it's been challenging. But we're going to continue through on Saturday nights in July.
Okay, so we're, there's and part of the challenge is always getting people to cross Atlantic Avenue and come over there, but it's not for trying to do something to bring more people to Main Street, and so the city will continue to participate and try to make this happen. And I think we're also talking about trying to do something throughout the rest of the year if we can get there. So it's our hope that as we go forward here that our partnership with the Main Street merchants will grow and we'll make more things happen. They will. But we have to do this together. The city has to be a partner.
Yes, Mr. Gross, I have something to ask you, and as a city attorney, I want to ask you this. On Ocean Avenue, the parking that the city owns, the one that with the, you know which one I'm talking about? Right on corner of Harvey and Ocean Avenue.
South of the pier
Yes, sir.
and adjacent to the parking lot?
Yes, sir. There's some issues over there, but I don't know if it's just something I can bring to this board, or I have to talk to Mr. Reed, but I'll let you know what it is. That parking opens at 11 o'clock in the morning. They charge people. They close at 6 o'clock. At 6:05, you got those little green guys coming in with those cars and hammering everybody with tickets.
I think that you might want to talk to J. Paul Wetzel
Okay.
about that. I think he manages our
Yes, he does.
parking regulation program.
There's some serious issues because they hammer, my business is right across, and people come in and they say, look, they close at 6 o'clock, and they come in and they hammer, and it's the same company that manages the parking, that runs the ticket parking. So there's a serious issue over there, but
They're the city's contractor. And J. Paul
exactly,
Wetzel
yes, sir,
manages that
yes, sir.
contract.
But I don't want to I don't want to be out of line and talk to this board if it's not, but this weekend, they just passed by. Not only that we had some heavy down in business because of the rain, but even the police officers were arguing with the people. You can't give tickets to people that park over there after you guys close the lot. And it's the same company. So, see what I'm saying?
And I don't know offhand whether the spaces are signed as closing at 6 or not, and whether they would need to be re-signed or not.
I believe me, I'm there at 8 o'clock in the morning. I see when they open at 11 o'clock, and they hit everybody who's there before 11, and they hit everybody, and there's the lady, the blonde lady, and the guy. And they park right on Harvey and A1A, and the minute somebody puts that coin, they don't even put lot closed. They just put an orange coin. And people park to go to Joe Crab Shack or whatever they park to go to, and it was a very good, for the fireworks, for everything. But I don't think that's fair to the people that come in.
Tomorrow, I will
Please.
address this with Mr. Wetzel, and I'll be back in touch with you, probably Mr. Wetzel as well.
If he wants to see video, have him call me. I got cameras.
Okay.
If he wants proof of that.
Just so we can clarify
Yeah,
all
just
the
please, because
physical
they're-
layout. Yeah.
A lot of upset people come in and
Oh, is
they with families, and they park,
Yeah.
and they come back and they see that little orange thing. They don't even make it. As soon as they go past by the other lot, that's closed next to it.
Bill Saxony today?
Yes. As soon as they pass that, those guys are there hammering the ticket. I mean,
I will talk to
Please.
the people that are
I don't know if
involved
it's
with
this
this.
board thing, but I apologize, but I had to bring it out instead of me going and complaining to the city, because it was really, really bad this weekend. It was pretty bad this weekend.
Okay.
And then personally, I can show you on the cameras that they're doing it on purpose, so. Trust me.
Okay. Thank
No
you.
problem. Sorry about that. Just
No
wanted
worries.
to-
So Reed, were you done with your redevelopment update?
I am.
I didn't see any public here for public comments, but if there are people that I don't see who would like to make comment, please step forward. Sounds like we already got into board comments, so we want to start with you, Tim?
Just yes or no from Reed. Have the slingshot people been in yet to start on the new? I don't need any great details. Just
Well,
curious
I've
if
been out a
they've
few
in.
weeks, but not that I'm aware of.
Okay. After their great approval, I would think they would be
The vomit
beating
fountain?
the city hall doors down to get a
Sorry,
building
they were
permit.
cleaning the palm trees, yes. They were cleaning the palm trees, but that's all.
That concludes this board member's comments.
Do you have anything else, Gilbert?
No, sir. No, sir.
Carrie?
No, sir.
Suzanne?
No.
Teresa?
Nope.
Dino? I don't have any other comments either, so meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.